Okay, this is what we were talking about Sunday night. Bands, bands music collabs. I'm an idiot. Brewery band collabs, and we've talked about this because it's so hard to buy beer. And I don't know if anybody knows what I'm talking about. Maybe Trevor. But I buy the majority of my beer at either breweries I go to, or there's one liquor store called Texas Wine and Spirits. And you walk in, it's not big. It's like one library shelf that separates two lanes. So you walk in, you go to the left. There's no like coffee or candy or slushy or slurpy thing. It's pretty much majority beer. They've got, you walk in, there's one bookshelf. It's all beer on the left. On the left, it's got the refrigerators. And on the right, it's just at room temperature, which I imagine used to be wine. Used to be all wine. And then it's about, I don't know, call it 40 to 60 feet. You hit the loop, it's still beer, maybe a soda aisle. And then you come back, and it's pretty much wine at that point. And you're back to where the entrance was, and the cashier guy's right there. With a place being that small and there's still so much beer in there, I literally feel like I'm in a mansion from like Resident Evil or something. Like I'm still just like, where do I go? What's refrigerated? And I think that they need to start putting kind of what they do for wine is just putting like, this is from San Diego over here. This is from the Central Coast. This is from San Francisco. Just putting it by city. Because I think people just want to like, I think that the thing that resonates with people that don't recognize labels and marketing, they're just going to be like, hey, San Francisco, cool. Or Palo Altos, hey, I got laid there one time. That's my city. Boom. I'm going to buy a 4-pack. But it's really difficult to buy beer. Like I said, you walk in and it's all beer for 50 yards. Everything's refrigerated. And on the right-hand side, it's just more beer at room temperature. And it's just really tough to buy beer. There's existing breweries for the last 5, 7, 8 years that I've been buying that still are putting out new beers. So how do you stand out? How do you stand out? Well, I think the best way possible is a collab. And I think the best collab you can do is with a band. I really do. And looking back, I remember Lagunitas collabing with Frank Zappa, or whoever owned the rights to Frank Zappa back 10, 12 years ago. And I still try to find these beers. They were bombers. They were called all Frank Zappa albums. Kill Ugly Radio, Cruising with Ruben and the Jets, and it didn't even matter about if I liked the beer or not or what style it was. I was going to buy it because I was obsessed with Frank Zappa in college. I went through like a Frank Zappa phase where I was reading his book and I hated his music so bad at first. So I just sat down and I read his book and I listened to every song and I finally started to get it. And I'll talk about that in a different video, but I bought every beer that they had. And then one day it was gone. And I was like, fuck, man. You can still kind of see them on eBay from time to time, but eBay search Frank Zappa Lagunitas beers. And it stood out like no other beer by far. And there's a positive and negative to this story, to the collab. So now fast forward and now there's Metallica and Stone. There's Stone, and they also, I think, did with No Effects. I think they did Punkin' Drublick. Drunken Pub. I think No Effects and Stone did a collab. Booze Brothers just did a collab with Warish. It's a great beer. It's a lager. Warish is Tony Hawk's kid's band. Tony Hawk's kid, he's got a coffee shop, I believe he owns, across from Booze Brothers in Oceanside. The guy's lead singer of a band. He's probably a pro skater. Probably has a a video game too, like his dad. He's got it all, but he's the lead singer of a band, and Booze Brothers collabed with them, and it's a great beer. They're not that big of a band, but at the end of the day, like, I don't think Booze Brothers is selling too much beer in Colorado or New York or Florida. It's more of a local thing. And then who else did a big one? Belching Beaver did one. You guys remember Belching Beaver and Deftones did a beer? Phantom Bride, I think. I think Phantom Bride is Deftones. It's obviously Belching Beaver, but I think it's Deftones. And then what's another big one? I don't know why I remember this, but I remember that Panic at the Disco had their own beer. Panic at the Disco, and I'd imagine it's, I don't know, East Coast, New York, New Jersey or something. Yeah, Tom, Belching Beaver and Deftones, it's not a bad beer. Black feels, I wonder how Black Plague feels about Warsh. No clue. Cheech and Chong beer collab. I love some of them Sweetwaters. Watch out for that yellow snow. Shout out to Kurtpick for knowing that. Sublime and Alesmith. What's that called, Chad? Somebody Google that really fast. There was another big one though. Maybe that's what maybe it was the Stone and the No Effects one. Megadeth did one. Okay, Sublime and Alesmith. Sublime. Okay, and you guys are out on the East Coast. So you guys are getting these collabs out on the East Coast. And obviously it's like going to be big depending on the demographic, right? Two things. It's the brewery's gig. The band isn't coming in and making beer. They probably showed up. The brewery is probably like, hey, here's 3, 4, 5 different beers. Which one do you like the best? Boom, let's slap your name on it. You know, the lead singer of whatever could pretend like he's doing a mash in to take a picture for social media. It's the brewery that's making the beer. Iron Maiden, British style something. And I did a weed beer once. I slept for 48 hours after I tried the first one. Yeah, Stone and Metallica definitely did one. It's the Ride the Lightning. Mexican lager. And someone could just Google it or whatever. And what I was going to... Dogfish Head and the Flaming Lips. Yeah, so it's kind of a common tale. Zima and Milli Vanilli. That's funny as shit. So it's kind of a common tale. I think it's the best thing you could do to get your beer out there. And again, I think it goes back to like a demographic. Like you look at, let's go to, I don't know, Orange County. Think of Orange County bands. Orange County breweries. What are we going to do? Who are the biggest Orange County bands? Social Distortion. No doubt. Punk rockers. San Diego. I don't know. Blink-182. Pearl Jam. So obviously hone in on that demographic. Sell your beers there. You know, my favorite bands, The Clash, The Talking Heads, Frank Zappa, Miles Davis. Like if I saw one of these beers and I was going through my local store and this was like Joe Strummer IPA from The Clash, I'd be like, I'm buying all of this. I don't care about if it's a Saison. I don't like Saisons. I don't care. I'm buying this up because I think this is cool. And even if it's in like my top 20 favorite bands, I'm going to buy that beer. That stood out. That was enough. Sometimes you just get sold on the beer name. Flaming Dog, Lizard Tits, Neon Colors from Hawaii, San Francisco, West Coast, whatever. But here's the downside to that. Here's the problem with that. Great promotion, great branding. Here's the two things that I've thought about that. One could brutally backfire, and one of them's just the reality of the business. For everything you sell, the brewery sells. Say we start a brewery, we're called Tom Mellon's Instagram page, Brewco. We're called Tom Mellon Brewco. And we decide to collab with Tame Impala. And we make 4-packs, 6-packs, whatever. every time we sell a 4-pack, we have to give them money. We have to give them $1. And it adds up. It's probably worth it. You know, if you're pushing beer and you're peddling beer, I'd imagine it's well worth it. That's why it's an ongoing thing that I think is getting more and more popular. You have to pay them $1 per sale. You're using their name. They're not using yours. Your collab is pretty much using a band's name that you like. For the most part. There could be bands that are involved in the brew house or the cellaring or the recipe development, but I highly doubt that the average collab, the band is not that involved. So you got to pay them, we'll call it $1 per, I don't know, 10%. 10% goes to the band. Cool. Fine. Here's the bigger problem. Reputation management. You're now hoping that a band that destroys hotel rooms and does drugs and has sex with a new girl in every city after a show in a world of cancel culture knows how to behave, knows how to, I guess, be under your mission statement or comply how you would want them to, how you would play it out in your head. But if you remember a couple of years ago, I think it was Stone and NoFX. And I'm pretty sure it was Stone and NoFX. Tom, can you help me out? But NoFX made some jokes about, God, I think it was the Las Vegas shooting. Or it might have been, I think it was the Las Vegas shooting. And they were playing a show and they were like, hey, are we going to get shot today? Or what's going on? We're in Vegas. Like, someone's going to light everybody up. And Stone was just like, you guys are fired. You guys are fired. As with any Nike deal with a pro athlete, if there's a domestic abuse thing or they do not look like that poster child image that we want to appear them as, you're fired. Because it's going to make the brand, which is a brewery in this sense, look bad. Not really bad. You know, there's always a new story every week. But Stone fired them like that. And it's a common tale. It's a common tale. Who's that shithead? Or who's that dude that does Monday Night Football? Hank Williams Jr. got the easiest gig in the world. His whole job is just to sing a Monday Night Football song, put on the cowboy hat, wear the bolo tie, and then there was like an election where he was like, Barack Obama is the new Hitler. You're fired. You're fired. You work for CBS. You work for NBC. I'm not saying Stone is on that, obviously not on that caliber, you know, where corporate America is, but you don't say stuff like that when you had a really easy thing. You had a really easy layup in life. So there's a reputation management. I'm not trying to go off tangent or whatever, but I just remember that story that, you don't say anything bad about the president. If who's ever president or running for president, or maybe if they used to be president, you could get away with it. But if you're, getting collabed with by ABC or Fox or CNN or ESPN, you're fired, dude. You fucked that up good. You fucked that up really good. So that's kind of a thing that breweries have to keep on their back burners, reputation management. And that goes for me, or what I could have just said something right now if I worked for a brewery or somebody and they were like, what you just said, we didn't like, you're fired. Fair enough. I don't work for anybody, nor am I doing a collab right now, but there's more reputation management that you have to worry about or hold on to. So that being said, the brewery band collab, I think it's the best way to promote your beer, but I think you also have to have a serious sit down with these guys and say, that's a tough conversation. Telling rock stars or comedians or jokesters how they need to behave and stuff, that could piss them off by default and it could backfire. So that's it. The pros and cons of band music collabs. Beer music collabs. Better way to promote, but it's more expensive. They're going to take a piece of every pie. And you got to worry about these guys not doing or saying off the wall shit that could make it all for nothing, especially or make it even lose money when there's lawyers and shit involved. So that's that. Well, if it's not NBC or CBS, Kevin Roberts, Brew Show, what's going on, man? Tom Alvarado, Homeboy said, I guess you only get shot in Vegas if you're a country band. Yep. You're fired. Yep, you're fired. That's how that works.